And for this one, what Charles and I have started doing recently is we've been a lot of times these come from Reddit. Not always, but a lot of times we get them from Reddit, different stories. And historically, we've done a lot of "Am I the butt face?" subreddit.
Sure.
What we started doing recently is reviewing people's petty revenges, and we rate them on how petty their revenge really was. And so this one comes to us from uh, King of Zdom, King of Zedom, from the Petty Revenge subreddit. It says, "You want to take 9 inches of property? We will take 20 feet of yours." So it says, "We lived in our house for about 8 years in a rural neighborhood in Arizona. About a year ago, this dude from California bought the lot next to us and threw a fit about the stuff we had on the property line. We had put a single fence pole vaguely where the property line was. We hadn't had any sort of land survey done. It was supposed to be just a temporary marker that became a permanent marker. Dude was absolutely livid that we had vehicles parked on his property. The very tip of one of our cars was touching the established boundary.
Mm-hmm.
He threatened to have our vehicle towed, so we simply had an actual land survey done, and it turned out the property line was a good 20 feet into his property. Homeboy should have just let sleeping dogs lie and not been a butt face about a few inches." So let's react there, and then he's got an edit as well. So
Okay.
what do you think about this petty revenge so far?
I mean, I'm glad that the California guy kind of lost some land there, because he should have just shut up about it. Who cares if their bumper's hanging over a few? Like, come on,
Yeah.
come on. But I mean, all that. So yeah, it worked out well. I think. I mean, karma. But also, I'm curious about the edit, because honestly, I'm not seeing a lot of revenge so far. I mean, he just had a survey done, and the line was not where he wanted. It's not like he, put sugar in the guy's gas tank or anything. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
I've definitely heard of pettier revenges when it comes to property disputes.
yeah.
So, I also am curious to see where this edit goes. So let's see. Edit. I had some journalists reach out to me and ask for some more comments. So here are the updates you asked for. Feel free to ask more questions for more clarifications, or ask again if I missed yours. Hello. Thank you for reaching out. Number 1, zip code, and it's redacted for reference. It's a small rural neighborhood in the mountains of Arizona. All houses are 3 to 5 acre horse properties. The roads are all dirt and unmaintained. It used to be a very understandable place to live, but in the last few years, it has been developed, and property values have been going up, quadrupling since we moved here in 2016. And for
Mm.
reference, this came out September of 2024 is when he posted this.
Mm.
So it quadrupled in 8 years.
Yeah.
This has attracted a crowd of people who care what yards look like, who simply weren't here when this was cheap. The neighborhood is one of the neighbor is one of these new people. We moved here specifically because the neighborhood had a bunch of messy yards already, and we wanted to also have lenient neighbors. We lived in harmony with our neighbors' junky yards for years. Whenever I hear the phrase "we lived in harmony," it makes me think until the Fire Nation attacked.
Right. That's kind of what happened. He was invaded,
Yeah. So that definitely adds a lot of context to that.
Yeah.
That someone from California is going to have a very different attitude toward, at least in my mentality. I've never actually been to California, but in my mentality, is going to have a very different attitude towards the lawn upkeep or property upkeep than someone who is used to having junky
Yeah.
yards. So it could be the neighbor was throwing a fit not just because of the property line, but also because there were vehicles parked on the lawn on the property.
Right.
And so I could definitely see that, because there's even some counties that have their own ordinances about cars being parked on property that's not designated as a driveway or a traditional parking location. So, because even actually at Charles's place, he said that they've laxed up, but there were people that would come through the neighborhood and write citations if you weren't parked up on the driveway, if you were parked in the street for too long. Or he's got a gravelly area that he uses kind of as a second driveway. When that started getting overgrown with weeds and it wasn't as evident that it was a gravelly driveway, he got a citation on that area as well. So if someone was coming from one of those regions, they might take issue with that.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm not dealing with, but I've seen a lot of that in my area too. Up here in Dahlonega, it's rural, and we've had a lot of people come in from all over. And the thing is, I kind of think if you're going to move to an area, you should at least make an effort to adopt the attitudes of the area you're moving to,
or at least understand them and be more accepting of it.
If you're from California, for example, and you move to rural Arizona and you're acting like you're in California, well, if you wanted to be in California, why'd you leave? You know what I mean? Stay in California and then you won't have a problem. I don't know.
That's why there's plenty of states that I will never move to, because I don't like the atmosphere or the mentality in that. Like I said earlier, there are aspects of Mormon culture, even though I'm a Mormon, that I don't care for, and they are put on display a lot in Utah, and so I don't really have any desire to ever live in Utah because of that. And so I would never move there. But I shouldn't say never. I mean, if a job opportunity that was way too good to pass up,
right?
Everything has a price. But I completely agree that if you're moving to a place, you should, if not full on adopt it, be understanding and respectful of the traditions. We were talking about traditions earlier, of the traditions that are set forth. But that's also part of the reason why I would never buy a house in an HOA, for instance, because I've heard way too many horror stories about HOAs.
I've been there. Never again. Oh my gosh. And it wasn't even that bad for me, but I just, I'm from the country, and moving to a place where someone else can tell me how to keep my yard up, like, that just doesn't fly with me.
Yeah.
I've done it for years. It was fine. But why? And HOAs are out of control anyway. They're crazy.
Oh yeah. Like, they get way too power hungry.
Well, it's, bored old people sitting around, and then anytime people get a taste of power, it's just like it automatically, almost in most scenarios, leads to abuse.
Oh yeah.
So,
well, that's even assuming that they're not underhandedly dealing with all of the finances of the HOA as well. So, all right. So that was part one of the edit. Let's see the next part. The neighbor introduced himself by calling the county on a bunch of us anonymously. We knew he called on us because he was bragging about calling the county on several other of the neighbors for their messy yard. So whether he intentionally included us in the report or not, he brought the inspectors to the neighborhood. He came on our property by at least 40 feet before there was a fence to closely examine our piles of scrap metal. So he's just straight up trespassing at this point.
Yep.
We caught this on camera and confronted him in text. It turned out he was very angry that he had purchased land next to a pseudo scrapyard. We had several cars in various stages of disassembly and piles of materials. Keep in mind, this is the country. This is normal out here. We are on a 5-acre lot. Another detail that I missed in my original post, he isn't even living on this lot. He bought a lot with a very small cabin 3 houses down, along with the lot next to us, with the intention of turning it into an income property. Oh, so there it is.
See,
he's wanting to gentrify this area.
Yeah. So in my current book, actually, I haven't written it yet, but I've got a wealthy neighbor that lives across the road that kind of hassles everybody, similar to the way we're doing about this. And at some point, she's going to make a comment about property values, and then I get to give my opinion about property values in the form of my character. And that is, they only matter if you're worried about selling your house. If you're not going to sell your house, who cares what the property value is, right?
Other than it impacts your property taxes.
Property tax. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
But like, if he's worried about property values, he bought it so he could try to sell it for more money later. And to do that, he has to get everybody else in the area to act like they're from California.
Yep. And that actually, in my mind, increases the pettiness of it, because this guy's using this as income property and just lost 20 feet from his income property. That's actually a lot bigger than I initially said. All right, there's just a little bit more to this. Let's see what else we got here. After we confronted him in text, he confronted us in person in our front yard, leaning against our no trespassing sign and screaming obscenities at us. We haven't seen him since we saw him on our security camera observing the survey markers dismayed. It's entirely possible that we entirely chased him out of the neighborhood. The people on the other side of his lot, who have an equally trashed yard from their small pig farming operation, ooh, that can get real smelly, depending on what they feed them. But anyway, so they have a small pig farming operation that he should have known existed before buying the land. Had such a bad experience with him that she had a restraining order on him. They are also having a potentially equally funny dispute about a shed that she built fully on his lot over 15 years ago, which means they're going to have to go to court over who owns it. And our adverse possession laws are certainly on her side. Ooh, interesting. Yeah. Currently, we are building an ugly fence on the newly surveyed property line. I love that they're going with an ugly
there
fence.
It is. There's the pettiness, and I'm on board for it. Absolutely. Building an ugly fence there just to spite him is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the fact that all of the other neighbors are just like, what are you doing? What? Right. Just no. And now because he doesn't want to be nice, doesn't want to play nice, depending on how that lawsuit ends up, he might lose even more of his land because of the adverse possession laws.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If somebody, builds on your property and you don't stop them or say anything about it for so long, then you didn't have a problem with it. You know what I mean? That's essentially what it says. So,
yep. Possession is 9/10 of the law. I have no idea if that's actually true, but I've heard it over and over, so it must be true, right? The internet says so.
Yeah.
So, oh man. So, how do you rate the pettiness of this on a scale from 1 to 10?
I'd give it about an 8, just because of the ugly fence.
Okay.
I like it.
I like the pettiness, but I with some of these petty stories that I've seen on Reddit, I think I'm gonna have to give it like a 6. This was pretty mild pettiness.
I think it's mild too, but there's just something about me that loves the idea of there being an ugly fence for this guy to look at all the time.
Yeah.
I'm down.
When I heard that the pig farmer, it reminded me of another story that I heard on Reddit, and I'll just paraphrase it real quick because we're we're just about out of time here, but it was similar. Someone moved in, had a property dispute, claimed that the fence was what that had been set up as kind of a handshake deal between the previous neighbor was encroaching on their lawn, and they wanted it moved. And went to a smaller court and said, yeah, no, it needs to move. And so they fixed it. And then they decided to set right up on the fence line a pig farm, and they intentionally fed the pigs stuff that would make it smell horrible. And it was because a similar situation where they had plenty of acres. The pig farm was way closer to the other people's house than it was to their own house, even though it was on their land. And it got so bad that they ended up driving those people out of the neighborhood. They moved away, and after they moved, they cleared up that pig pen and took it off, so the next neighbors didn't have to deal with it. They went out of their way to
that's pretty petty.
So there's plenty of ways to be petty. Putting up an ugly fence is mildly petty, but and getting a surveyor out there, I don't even
that's not petty at all.
Petty.
That's just figuring out what's what.
So, but yeah, the ugly fence and having all the neighbors go up against them, that's mildly petty. I'm gonna go 6 out of 10. I feel comfortable with that one. So
okay.